And Joshua mowed down Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. You will forgive me, it's one of my favorite lines in the whole Bible. I'm not sure I'm going to preach on it, though. I just needed to get that out. No, it might tie in very nicely. But what's going on in that first reading? The Israelites are pressing through the desert. They've begun their journey to the promised land. And they are opposed by a wicked and vicious force. God is always condemning Amalek throughout the Old Testament. They are a dire threat to his chosen people. They are anathema. They must be eliminated. They have no love for the Israelites. They are out to destroy them. There can be no peace between them. Opposites as north is to south. And the only way out is through. And so what does God do? He has his servant Moses, tell his commander Yeshua, out of the chosen people, choose more, even more elite. And you are going into battle. But the war will not be won simply by strength of arms, if you pardon the pun. And what does it say? It says Moses took his staff. He takes a piece of wood. And accompanied by two faithful servants, he goes up the hill. And there he stretches out his arms. And he sacrifices and he waits. And God allows his weakness to become strength. So long as you are sacrificing, so long as you are intercessing, we will have the better of this fight. You lower your arms, you go slack, your people will die. And you don't even get to be there, so to speak, with them. You have to stand and watch. Do you have faith? Moses holds his hands out, and the battle will not stop. It's going on all day. Can you imagine? Don't drop your guard, or the people you love will die. That's a heck of a motivator. But you will get tired, because it isn't over in an hour. It's hard, my brothers and sisters, to hold your arms outstretched for 20 minutes. In the army, it was an excellent form of calisthenics. When your instructors were seeking to discipline you, they would have you extend your arms, and you would just hold them out there. And you'd start chanting something or reciting the Soldier's Creed or something, and you would just keep going and going and going. And after 20 minutes, you wanted to die. It was brilliant in the heat of the day. And there's Moses with his hands out for hours. And his brother and his assistant grab his arms. They even put a stone in place, something immovable. And they hold position, and he just hangs there, so to speak, and suffers. And he can't get away now. He can't lower his arms, and it hurts. And the battle goes on all day. until the last of the enemy is crushed, mowed down. You go back to the gospel. Jesus told his disciples a parable about the necessity for them to pray always without becoming weary. And he gives this great example of a villain who, out of his own self-interest, finally gives in to somebody bothering him because he's scared of her. And what's his point? He says, if you can break this guy with persistence, what do you think the odds are if you're pestering somebody who actually wants to give you something that you'll get it? They're pretty good. What do you want from God, my brothers and sisters? Ask for it. How badly do you want it? Keep asking. Keep throwing yourself into it. Two things will happen. God will give you what you ask, and your will change to His. But it will cost you something. The day is long. Your life, it lasts for as long as you need to be saved and to do His will, whatever that is in this life. Some saints He takes at 24, some He waits till they're 102. Everything else in between and at the very beginning. God knows what it will take. Do you? Remain faithful to what you have learned and believed, because you know from whom you learned it, and that from infancy you have known the sacred Scriptures, which are capable of giving you wisdom and salvation. All Scripture is inspired by God and is useful for teaching, for refutation, correction, and for training in righteousness. Who does Joshua pick? He picks more specific people. Who are you? You are chosen. What makes a soldier elite? He trains. What makes you a better Christian, a better Catholic? You pray. How do I pray? Open this book. Study it. The more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. Pore over this. Maybe you're not good at reading Scripture. Maybe you need someone to explain it to you. Come bother me. I will be your servant. I will be your assistant. I will hold your hands up. I have one primary desire in life: to get me and you to heaven. That's it. Everything else is really secondary. Everything else sort of circles around that. I want you to be capable. I want you to be strong. It's not always easy. We hold each other up. Jesus Christ, the God-man, is bleeding to death on his way to Calvary because they've beaten him with whips. And they continue to beat, and the crowd screams, and they've pressed thorns into his skull. He must have a headache like you can't imagine. And these are the people who love him. Or rather, these are the people he loves. And they grab a stranger out of the crowd to help carry his cross, because he will die otherwise. Even God lets himself be helped. Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst of them. And the secret to winning your fight isn't knowing even all that much about fighting, but it's having your friends beside you. Aaron and Hur, his disciples, Mary and John, the stranger Simon. Takes all kinds. And then even the nails pressed into his flesh and his wrists help him to hold his hands out so that he can let you win the day. The grace you need comes through his outstretched hands. He carries a piece of wood up a hill and is fixed firmly upon a rock. And the nails become his friends so that he can save you and me. And he waits as long as it takes, the length of our days. Jesus Christ is not crucified again and again and again, and yet the sacrifice is represented on this altar. He links into this moment and every other moment of the Mass. So the grace coming through his outstretched arms can get to you. What will you do when you receive it? Will you fight hard in his name? He secures the grace. You are still in the battle. But you have a heck of a war leader. His name's Yeshua, too. He's on the hill. He's in my hands. Into your hearts he goes. Study the Scriptures so you are well trained in the ways of war that revolve around love, so that you can fight hard, that you can kill the enemy within, and face the hostile enemy without. And without doing true harm, you triumph in his name. Church militant, church suffering, church triumphant. He holds his hands out to save you and me. Let us do him honor. Let us fight in Jesus Christ's name. And the Blessed Mother and the beloved apostle and all the angels and all the saints will also be our sure support. God bless you this evening.